Hi, I'm Nuseibeh, and I'm going to be reading to you from the introduction to my book, Namesake. Excuse the fact that I'm using an inelegant iPad. I don't have a physical copy of the book. It is 1999, and I am in my grandmother's house on Nablus Road in Jerusalem, a road which happens to go along the 1949 Armistice Line, also known as the Green Line, dividing east from west. My grandmother sits in her spot on the grey embroidered sofa beside my great aunt, both frowning at me imperiously as the former lectures me about the importance of fasting. She hasn't asked whether I'm fasting this year. She assumes that I am, and I don't mention that I've just enjoyed a bottle of iced tea on my way over, having walked to her house from my primary school by way of the grocery store. But she takes the opportunity to remind me how serious she is about it, while The Bold and the Beautiful is on an ad break. She is serious. She will continue to fast every year until her health starts to fail her, and even then will only break her fast in order to take small sips of water. After she passes away, over a decade later, our dedication to the seriousness of Ramadan will slacken. We still wait impatiently for the canon to sound in order to eat our first proper meal of the day, but now only my father will go without food or drink from sunrise to sunset. The rest of us will smugly sip our morning coffee, and then at our iftar, enjoy the special foods that are reserved for Ramadan. Eggs and basturma, the spicy lamb bacon, syrup-soaked atayef, nut-filled pancakes, colorful juices from dried fruit meant to keep the system moving. At the end of Ramadan, we will go through all the rituals of the feast. The men of the extended family, all in suits, will go from one house to another being served cardamom-rich coffee or treacly orange juice and sugared almonds by the women waiting there. We will eat a lamb stuffed with saffron-flavored rice, studded with roasted pine nuts, dollops of cool yogurt on the side, followed by round, crumbly pistachio-filled biscuits for dessert, dipped into a sugary, thick white cream. Now, though, during the ad break, our Ramadan breakfast is still a few hours away. After my grandmother finishes her lecture, my great aunt, who visits every few days, gives me a hard look. "Are you English or are you Arab?" she asks me in Arabic, glaring, her bun impossibly high on her head. "I'm a Palestinian Muslim Arab from the Nuseibeh family," I tell her, my answer well rehearsed from the 1,001 times we've been through this ritual. "Descended from Nuseibeh bint Ka'b al-Khazrajiyya." "Bravo," she says, clapping delightedly. If you are Muslim, chances are you will be familiar with Nuseibeh bint Ka'b, sometimes known as Umara. You will know her story, that she was one of the first women to convert to Islam in 7th century Arabia, that she became one of the companions of the Prophet Muhammad, and that she is, in particular, famous for losing an arm while defending him in one of multiple battles. She has, in Islam, almost folkloric status. Many Muslim girls are named Nuseibeh for that reason. In my case, though, the myth runs even deeper, that the Nuseibeh family is directly descended from her, making her, in family lore at least, our ancestor and our namesake. Little has been written about her, a lot is contradictory, and whether she even really existed is up for debate. Yet she remains an important proto-feminist figure, cited in the works of famous scholars and feminists like Layla Ahmad, Nawal al-Sa'dawi, and Abd al-Wahab Boudiba. As such, Nuseibeh is easy for me to imagine as I sit curled up here on my bed, in a slightly cold room in Oxford 1,300 or so years later. A stout, muscled woman atop a horse, licking sweat from her lips as she strings a bow one-handed. I did not set out to write a book about Jerusalem. In fact, I intentionally chose a subject matter, my Arab warrior ancestor, that I felt would be broader, less controversial, more fiction than fact. But it turns out that it's impossible to write about early Islam without reference to Jerusalem, and impossible for me as a Palestinian to explore the personal without reference to the political. Being Palestinian, especially one born and raised in Jerusalem, is difficult in ways that very few have taken the time to imagine, and to think about a Muslim warrior ancestor is to invoke questions that have clear bearing on the current conflict. Questions about what bravery looks like, about community, anger, loyalty, and the glorification of violence. about what it is to be a warrior, to be religious, to be a Muslim woman, an Arab feminist. Although these questions do, I hope, have larger resonances, these are all subjects that have direct meaning and consequence to a Palestinian. And so I found that every essay I wrote ended up being, at its heart, about my much disputed, much coveted home. Thanks very much for listening.